nose clogged. So oh, good. I just wanted to check that it's recording. And, I felt called to do some writing about the importance of preserving your sense of smell and things you can do to mitigate and protect it, especially during cold and flu season. So that's what I'm going to be writing about today. So just not necessarily a book, but an article.
Awesome.
Awesome. That's so good.
So without further ado,
Let me give a proper introduction to Amy, so that way anybody who does hear this on a replay can know a little bit about her ahead of time. So most of us know Amy Lemire, but I want to say that her biography could be changed every day to include something new and exciting. She is a top salesperson and strategist. She's a trainer. She's a facilitator. She's an author. She's the dean of the National Speakers Academy. And these are just amongst some of her achievements. She is a peak performance certified habit coach, which, if you haven't taken her assessment yet, you can find that link in the chat. Although for people, let me ask you, Amy, for people who hear the replay, they may not be able to get to the chat room. So I don't know if you can put up the link in a different way and in a second. But her books, From Zero to Sales Hero and From Zero to Speaker Hero, are on the Amazon #1 bestseller list. And today she's going to share her top 10 lessons learned and tips on finishing her 2 books. So let's welcome Amy Lemire.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Sheva. And thank you, Julia, for being here. I'm excited to share my journey about writing my book. And I'm going to keep this first part, ladies, you said 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then Q&A. Okay. So what I'll do today is I'm going to give a little bit of background about my journey of writing my 2 books. And I will also share with you what I consider to be the top lessons I learned in the process. And if I would have, I have these lessons laid out here. I'm going to share them afterwards. We will put them, if you guys are okay with this, putting it in the group online. As I said earlier, I prefer to stay away from a lot of PowerPoints and slides if I can. So I'd really like to just keep this like a discussion, and hopefully everybody has a notebook and a pen or something to write notes in, because I find that when we're more engaged and engaged in learning and participating versus just staring at a lot of slides, that we get more, I just believe it sinks in a lot more. So this will be really informal, but I will just start out by again thanking Jenny and also Sheva for allowing me to have this opportunity to speak today. And my journey as an author, I'll just be upfront. It didn't start with one day I woke up and decided I wanted to write a book. I was at a seminar. Back in, I think it was like 2013. And there was this man on stage. It was like this workshop where there were a lot of different presenters talking about ways you can make passive income, real estate, writing books, multi-level marketing opportunities. It was this whole week in Orlando. And this man stood up and they said, oh, he's the Canadian Tony Robbins. His name is Raymond Aaron. And I thought to myself, now I've been following Tony Robbins for a long time and there's nobody like him. So I kind of almost was sitting there with my hands on my hip as he stood up on stage and he told this story. And I won't tell you the entire story, but the long and the short of it is that he was at a point in his life where he was at rock bottom. I mean, he lost his job, he lost his wife, he was making no money, just had nothing. And he felt a calling to teach and inspire and train people. And so he started following that path. And then he somehow figured out, if I write a book to establish myself as an authority on my topic, maybe I could, in addition to establishing myself as an authority, maybe this could be another income stream for me. So he stood on stage and pitched this program about how to write a book. The program itself is called the 10-10-10 program. And I'll talk about it in a few minutes, but this will be one of the tips I'm going to share with you, is to get help and to get support. But long story short, he gave his pitch, and at the end I was like, wow, he made it seem so fun, interesting, and easy to write a book. I thought, I'm going to do it. Why not write a book and see what happens? So I decided to write my first book back in 2013 after this workshop. And that is going to take me right into my list in a moment. But, since I wrote my book, I will tell you all, my reason for writing my book wasn't, I want to get money and just, make a lot of income from this. My why was I wanted to move from being an in-house employee, sales trainer, to being an independent trainer and working for myself. So what that means is that I wanted to brand myself as an authority on sales and an authority on public speaking. So I had my why, and that actually takes me right into my list. The first thing that I will invite you all to do, and there's going to be actually 12 bullet points I'm going to be sharing with you. So it's actually 10 lessons plus 2 bonuses. Okay. So if you want to write this down, the first thing that I would share with all of you, if I had to do it all over again, and if I had to really sit down and ask myself, what are the most important lessons I learned and what would I do different? It's what I'm about to share with you. Okay. So hopefully I can save all of you time and energy and effort in writing your book. And the first one you want to write down is number 1, what is your why? So what is your why? And really be clear about why you're writing your book. Are you trying to get a bestseller? Do you want to get speaking opportunities? Do you want to establish yourself as an expert in a topic? I mean, every one of us has a superpower. Every one of us has a gift. My gifts are different than Sheva's. Sheva's are different from Julia's. Julia's are different from Jenny's. So really think about, what is my superpower? What do I know? And what is my talent and my gift that nobody else has? Now, we might have some similarities, but what makes me different, unique, and an expert on something? What is it? So really knowing why you're writing your book is very important. No one's going to do anything that's a nice idea. And number 2 is get support - accountability. Number 2, get support, accountability. Now, as I mentioned to all of you, I happen to sign up with a program. There's a lot of programs out there. There's another man who's also Canadian named Jerry Roberts. And I think it's actually, he spells it Gerry Roberts, Roberts. And even here in St. Louis, Kathy Davis, who's a member of National Speakers Association, she has a company called Davis Creative. And I have her contact information here. I will send this to all of you as a follow-up, by the way, so the information's here. But the reason that I say to get support and accountability, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to spend the money on a program like I did, but maybe it's just getting an accountability coach. Maybe it's getting an accountability partner. I will tell you all, I would have never written my books had I not had spent the money on accountability and spent the money on a program. If it was just something I was doing my own, and no disrespect to any of you, they're like, I'm just gonna do it on my own. I want to take the cheap and easy route. That's great, but what is going to get in the way of that is right here. You're, just like my habit finder assessment you take online, we find that what either moves us forward in our life or pulls us backwards from our results is right here. It's ourself, it's our mind, it's our thought habits. So having an accountability partner or having, a program or whatever it is, maybe you have a friend that's going to write a book and you are checking in with each other once a week on your progress. I just can't emphasize enough how important that is. I believe coaching is important no matter what you want to achieve in your life, but with a book is a big deal. Okay. Yeah. Number 3 is set a date. Set a date. when do you want your book to be published? And I wrote this, a goal without a deadline is a dream. Okay. Dreams are good, but a goal without a deadline is just a dream. So when I wrote my first book, I wanted to finish it in 90 days because that's what the program I signed up for promotes. But secondly, there was going to be an event where Jack Canfield was also re-releasing his book called The Success Principles, and he's friends with Raymond Aaron. So I wanted to be at the same event and get to stand on stage with my book, and it was a really big deal. So I think my launch date, I want to say it was like, maybe it was March 30th of 2014, but just having a date, I think that's the other thing that kills us, is that we, in this book writing process, is we just say, yeah, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to get it done. And, you know, anytime in my life I've set a big goal, whether it's I'm going to quit my job, or I'm going to get out of this relationship, or I'm going to, you know, lose weight. Whenever I have had a big goal in my life, I've always set a date. You know, maybe it's in the next 30 days, maybe it's in the next 60 days, but I really encourage you to think about putting a date out there for when you want to have your book finished by. Okay, number 4 is get your ISBN number. Okay, so you know on the back of your book, and I don't have, actually I have a copy of a different book here I can show you. Hang on. Oh, I do have my book here. It's in my backpack. All right, so on the back, you see this little code that is called, if you don't know this already, that's an ISBN number. And the reason that you need to have an ISBN number, it's just like when you're going to the grocery store and you're checking out. And if you're like me, wanting to save time, I'm always doing the self-checkout lane. But anytime you just scan that barcode scanner, imagine that. The barcode scanner is really what your book, that's like your book's social security number. And it ties the book to you. And it also ties it to how you get paid. And we'll talk about more of that in a few minutes. But you can go online. I believe you can get a block of ISBN numbers for anywhere. I think it's like between $100 to $200. It's not a lot, but you will need to have that on your book. You'll need to have an ISBN number.
Okay.
And I'm going to pause there. If there's questions while I'm talking, I don't mind if you interrupt me, but I will make time at the end. But does anybody have anything that's confusing or not making sense so far?
I did put a question in.
Okay.
Do you get that number before you write your book, or after, or during, or what do you?
I would get it either at the early stages of writing the book or during writing the book. I wouldn't wait till the entire end when you're going to publish, because if there's a problem getting the ISBN number, it could hold up your publishing date.
Oh, good idea.
Now, how about people who've written a book and forgot to get an ISBN number? Can you still just redo it? And
yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can redo it. You obviously just want to redo your cover, because it's going to be on the back cover of your book.
Okay.
Too.
Okay.
So you might have to use redesign.
And where do you go to get this?
When we went online, my first 2 books, I did work with my ex-husband was involved in the process, but I believe he just Googled ISBN numbers, and there were like 2 companies that came up, and it's not very many companies that sell them, but I don't have the exact name of them, but
they're easy to find. If there's only 2, then
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, awesome. Number 5, I mentioned this already, but what is your area of expertise? Okay. I mentioned this earlier. What is your superpower? What is your passion? What is a subject you can talk about that you know more than anyone else? Okay. What excites you? What inspires you? What is something that you might do that other people hate doing? Okay. I was in sales for 23 years. I know a lot of people that hate selling, that say, oh my God, I would never sell. I could never do that. My second book was about public speaking. I know a lot of people that say, oh my God, I can't stand up from an audience without, freaking out or whatever. So those are really good topics, because there might be people out there that don't like to sell or don't like to speak that might see my book and say, oh, wow, maybe I should read this book. So that's what's really cool about having a skill or a superpower is chances are there's probably somebody out there that really needs your expertise that could really benefit from it. And I'll be honest with you, ladies, when I first wrote my book on sales, I was so burned out on selling. I was like, I've been in sales for 20 years. I was in training and I'm like, oh, I don't want to have anything to do with sales. And somebody just asked me the question. They said, well, is there anybody out there that needs to learn how to sell? Or is there anybody out there that you think might benefit just a little bit from all you know from all those years of selling? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. Maybe you're right. So then, you know, it may be a topic you're kind of tired of and burned out, but there are people that need to know what you know. There are people that need your knowledge, if you think about it. So really think about what is that area of expertise. Number 6, one of the first things that I would actually, after you choose your topic, the next thing that you want to do is you want to write your title and then your subtitle. Before you sit down and start writing your book and, you know, going through the ISBN numbers, what is the title and the subtitle of your book? Now, there's a couple reasons you want to figure that out first before you really get into the writing is number 1, if you want to advance promote your book. After I got my book cover, I was promoting my book before it was even finished being written. So I was like, hey, I'm writing this new book, you know, From Zero to Sales Hero, how to double your sales and income in 90 days, in less than 90 days. And it can generate interest if you have that title. But when you write your title, it should be a title and a subtitle, and it should be left brain, right brain. So the left brain is From Zero to Sales Hero. And then the right brain is the how to. That's your subtitle. You know, how to double your sales and income in less than 90 days. So, you know, if you look at a lot of the big books out there, it's usually, again, a title is pretty direct and here's what my book is. And then the subtitle is, here's how you do it. Here's the how. So we want our title to be catchy and fun, but then we want our subtitle to really be the black and white of how am I gonna convey this information in my book. So the title and the subtitle also is going to attract people to your book. So, you know, you want it to be interesting. And there's good news for all of you. No title is copyrighted. I found this out when I was writing my book. So you could call your book The Hunger Games. You could call your book the Bible. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to do that probably, but you don't have to worry about getting your title copyrighted. Okay. So, matter of fact, after I wrote my book, there were some other books that came out with similar titles. Not saying that it was because I wrote my book, but just so you know, you don't have to get your title copyrighted. Number 7, create your cover. Pre-market your book with your cover. So you can go to a lot of places to get a book cover. You can go to Fiverr, Fiverr. You can go to Odesk and hire a graphic designer. If you have a friend that's an artist or someone that likes to do these types of things. But my bottom line is I wouldn't try to do it yourself unless you're somebody who's a maven with, Adobe Acrobat or a program like that. I would definitely have someone else do your do your book cover for you. I hired a graphic artist to do mine. I started with Fiverr. The only downside about Fiverr, if anyone's not used it, I have them working on a one sheet for me right now. The only downside about Fiverr is you have to communicate back and forth, and you're working with people that might not speak American English as their primary language. I'm not saying that's, good or bad, but sometimes it's just easier to talk to a person on the phone after you get your proofs back and say, you know what, I don't like that color, or I don't like where you put this, versus emailing. So, but Fiverr is a cheap option. I think it's, you can spend $10 to get a book cover. You don't have to spend very much money on it. So
does Odesk work the same way as Fiverr, where you have to communicate via email?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what are you saying is a different option where you can get on the phone?
Yes, I for my second books, I actually hired a graphic designer to do my covers.
Okay.
Because it was that, and also my ex-husband did a little bit of the work on it. But I had a very specific, I looked at the best sales books out there. One of my favorite sales books is called The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. And I really loved his cover because it was just words and red and, you know, not exactly like this, but a little bit similar. But I would also invite you to look at books that what are some of your favorite books? What do the covers look like? Who are authors you follow? Who are speakers you follow? Or if you're going to write a book about, I'm just making this up. Let's say you're going to write a book about scrapbooking. Maybe you go out and look at other books about scrapbooking and see what their covers look like just to get some ideas. That's how I did mine. But I went on the expensive side and hired a graphic designer. It probably costed me, I think when it was all said and done, $300 or so to do my book cover. But again, you don't have to do that. You can spend $10 on Fiverr if you're on a budget.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And one thing you probably know about me by now too is that I do move fast. My boyfriend reminds me I am impatient, so I don't like the emailing and texting back and forth in Fiverr as much as some of you. That might be no problem at all, but for me, I just got a little frustrated with it. Okay. The next thing you want to do, number 8, is create 10 ideas from stories. These are going to be your chapters. So when we say create 10 ideas from stories, so for instance, if my book is about sales, what I did is I got 10 ideas of, okay, if I had to start selling all over again, kind of what I'm doing right now, what would be the 10 ideas I want to share about selling? So I came up with 10 ideas. You want to do that first. Come up with 10 ideas and then think of 10 stories that would support each of those ideas, because the stories you put in your book are going to be what really get people interested. Your lessons learned, your wisdom, your experience. So the way you do this, and this is what I learned in my program, is you get 10 pieces of paper. Okay. This is really, this is so simple and it makes it so easy. Is, let's just say that my first story and my first idea is going to be cold calling and prospecting. And then I think of, I'm going to share that one story about that Friday afternoon when I thought I almost got kicked out of a building for prospecting. And they ended up giving me like a $500,000 order by the time I left the building. It's a really interesting story. It's a true story. It happened here in St. Louis. But so I have my idea is called prospecting. And then I call it the 5 p.m. cold call story. So I'm doing this 10 times. Guess what? These are going to be my book chapters. Okay. So my first book chapter is going to be everything you want to know about cold calling and prospecting. And then within that chapter, I'm going to tell my story about how I showed up at 5 o'clock on a Friday and thought I was going to get thrown out of a building and ended up getting an order from them because their payroll checks didn't show up that day. I was selling ADP payroll at that time in my life. So this is the easiest way to start laying the framework of your book. What we don't do is we don't sit down and write a book and this is what I think a lot of people do is which isn't going to work, is just start typing. Okay, I'm going to start writing my book and I'm going to write. You want to create an outline. So that's how you do that. Number 9, title your 10 ideas and stories as chapters. So whatever those 10 ideas are, guess what? You just created your chapter names. You don't want to call your chapters chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You want to instead make them interesting, make them fun. Some of my chapters, I'll just look at my book just to give you an idea. Chapter 1, attitude is everything. So I talked about the mental game. There's a big mental game of selling. And that's what my chapter 1 is all about. It's all about your mindset. If you can't master this, you're going to have a really hard time selling anything because you are going to get kicked around. You're going to get doors slammed in your face. You're going to get people hanging up on you. But you know what? To me, that's the fun side of selling. And it only happens I always tell everybody when I was in sales, I think I can only count on one hand out of 20 years if somebody was just downright nasty, mean, or rude to me. For the most part, it was just, we're not interested or they just don't return your calls. So make your ideas fun and then make the stories that back them up part of the chapter. So that was number 9. Again, title your 10 ideas. These are going to be your chapters and have each of those stories as part of the body of that chapter. Number 10, it's not till we get almost to the end where you write your content. Okay. So a couple tips on this is that when you have those 10 pieces of paper, and use a full piece of notebook paper. I know I grabbed a little notebook, but what you want to do is you got that title of that chapter, the idea, and then you got that story. Well, guess what? You take those 10 pieces of paper and now you start typing those into a Word document. Guess what? You've just created the outline to your book now. So it's easy. So when you, number 10, write the contents, you need one lesson though, everybody. And I just got one of these last week. You don't want a pamphlet, you want a book. To get a book with a spine on it and a title, you need 20,000 words. Okay, so don't fall out of your chair. But you need at least 20,000 words in a Word document to get a book. If you have less than that, you're going to get a pamphlet. Pamphlets aren't going to stand out as much if you want to see this in a bookstore, or, you know, you really want to say you wrote a book, not a pamphlet. So that's really, really important. 20,000 words. Okay, number 11, set a book launch date, create a marketing plan. Do you want to be an Amazon bestseller? I wanted my book to be an Amazon bestseller, so I hired somebody to help me do that. And she did it through keywords and all this other crazy stuff that we did get this book to be a number one Amazon bestseller. So there are people that do that. The woman I worked with, she's still in business because she sends me emails. I'm still on her list. It's Ellen, and it's Violet like a flower, except she spells it Violette. But she will help you get your book to be a bestseller if you want that. Okay, that might not be for everybody. I wanted that for overachiever and me. And also the program I was in, they were really about making your book a bestseller. Okay, number 12, last one, publish your book. Now, I used Amazon KDP. I will tell you that is a whole back-end process to do that, because you got to upload your book to Amazon. They have to approve it. And then the good news for all of you, this is called self-publishing. I chose to self-publish because I didn't want to end up with 1,000 books in my closet. I didn't want to end up with a house full of inventory. What I love about Amazon KDP is that when I sell a book, so if Sheva goes and buys a book on Amazon, you know, I get $7 in my Amazon account, my KDP account, and then Amazon gets $7 to print and ship the book. So we kind of split it. So it's a really great deal. That's the happy side of Amazon KDP. The downside of Amazon KDP is it's not like calling the airlines or calling your customer service department. They don't have live people you can call and talk to. So everything is through email. It's a little bit tedious. But if this is something you really want to explore, my ex-husband and we're on friendly terms, and he does help people do that part. That is very technical. It's not in my wheelhouse, but he did help me with both my books. And if you're somebody that's like, I really want to do that, I don't know how to do it, where to start, you can message me offline and I can help you with that part. Okay, so I know I've talked probably more than 15 minutes. I'm going to be quiet and ask if you have questions or anything anybody wants to ask me about. And again, I will put this PDF on the page. I think I can upload it to the page, or I can send it to Sheva and Jenny. And then I will also send the link that Sheva mentioned and Jenny mentioned to my habit assessment. If you're afraid you're stuck or you're not going to get it done, because of a lot of this will come up. Are they going to like my book? Are they going to read it? What if everybody thinks I'm silly for writing a book? What if people don't buy my book? I mean, all of that's going to go through your head. And you know what? You just got to ignore it. That's the best advice I can give you, because you're putting yourself out there. I mean, you are. It's just like social media, like doing a video of yourself. Oh my God, what are people going to think about me? Who cares? You know what? It's all about you and what you're bringing to the world. And all that matters is if you're making the difference in someone else's life, then your book is already a bestseller for that reason. Okay. So
thank you. Oh my goodness, that was so incredible, Amy.
So
Because
inspiring.
you made it
Thank
simple.
you.
You didn't make it complicated. I was, so many times people talk to me and I'm like, it's just way over my head. You made it just so simple because you just go from step to step to step instead of having to see the whole picture and go, now what do I do with the big picture? So that was great. That was really
Thank
good.
you.
I
Mhm.
know. I feel like I could do this. I could totally do
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Opening up the possibilities. Yeah. Oh, what were you going to say, Sheva?
Oh, I put it on our event page, Amy's flyer for her book, but I think that is really impressive. And
Thank you.
I just wanted to share that because um I'm gonna do the share screen here for a second. Just and maybe Amy, if you wouldn't mind speaking to
Yeah.
it. Um, okay. Yeah, tell us about this flyer and like how how you made it and what
Yeah,
you need
absolutely.
help. And, yeah.
I will be transparent. I did hire a graphic designer to do this, and it was worth every penny I spent on it because when somebody says, "Oh, hey Jenny, I heard that you wrote a book about," I'm just making this up, about women's empowerment. We really want you to come and speak to our group, or we're looking for a speaker that we want to pay to come in and speak to us. Can you send me your website? Can you send me your marketing material? Can you send me your one sheet? You're going to get those questions after you publish a book. So what I really love about this is that whether somebody wants to hire me to speak or do a workshop, when I can give them this document and just show, hey, I'm a legitimate authority on speaking and sales skills. And by the way, hint, hint, here's my book. It's just, I think it's kind of like having a business card. And your book is your business card, by the way. This is a business card. And so having just a one sheet to support it, because you may be dealing with people who are not, locally, I can give this book to people. And I used to use my book as my business card when I was getting speaking gigs and when I was working for myself 100%. So your book is your business card, but having a one sheet is also, I think, equally as important. And you could do this on Fiverr again or Odesk. Another place where if you really want to stay local and work with local talent, there's a really great app called Thumbtack. And I think Sheva, I've mentioned this one to you before, but I've used Thumbtack to get people to, to clean my house, to, take care of my pets. I found people on there for massage that travel. But so if you want to hire somebody to help you do things, there is a lot of talent on that site. It's an app you can put on your phone. It's a website you can go to, but you can either hire people, or if any of you have a special talent, that you want to put out to the world. It's kind of more of a local, if you want to deal with somebody locally in the St. Louis or metro area, that would be a better solution than, Fiverr, you're going to deal with somebody who's overseas or not in the country.
And then what you call that, it's is that a standard name like in the book industry, like send over your one page is what they call it?
Yeah, it's called a one. That document you brought up, Sheva, we call it in the speakers industry or author, it's called a one sheet.
The one sheet.
Yeah. So if any of you are it's almost like having your resume and your book on a piece of paper is really what it is. And it's flashy. You can see my colors obviously are red. I wear red a lot. My book is red. So think about what are your brand colors too. I see Jenny every time. I love it when Jenny's on calls because I always look at the beautiful plum and I don't know what the name of the color is. I don't want to say purple. Purple sounds so boring, but it's just,
Yeah, people call it different things. Some people call it cranberry or raspberry but I know I love color. So
yeah.
so grateful to have it behind me.
Yeah, so it really
I
makes a
don't want to
big
be rude.
difference.
I have to go.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
go ahead, Julia.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any-
How can I view this later?
Oh, I am going to post a link to this
Okay.
in the same event that you clicked on Facebook,
Okay.
one that's like, yes, I'm going, it'll be in there in the discussion.
Okay, thank you, Sheva, and thank you, Amy, and thank you, Jenny.
Thank you for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Amy, can you give me an example of when you say a subtitle is the how you will convey the information? So you have a title and then you have your subtitle. So in your book, just tell me again, what was that?
Yeah, so my books is so like for instance, my speaker book, From Zero to Speaker Hero. Okay, so that's the left brain. There's just kind of the black and white from zero to speaker hero. My subtitle is the how to, the right brain, how to achieve fame, fortune, and fun as a speaker and presenter. So
Okay.
if you look
Okay.
at, I'm trying to think, I got a couple other books on my shelf. Let me see. Hang on one second. I got this Vito one. So I train salespeople on this whole philosophy of getting to the very important top officer. So like, here's another book. I didn't write this, but they're following the same formula. Getting to Vito, the very important top officer, 10 steps to Vito's office. Okay. So that's just a totally outside of us talking here. So it's kind of like, it's like your title is almost the action of I'm going from zero to sales hero. And then the subtitle is, okay, how does she do that? How is she gonna, how do you do that? So my sales book, From Zero to Sales Hero, my subtitle is how to double your sales and income in less than 90 days. So it's just, there are some books that don't have subtitles, but again, the person that I signed up with and that I did the book program with, they were all about having a title and a subtitle.
That's a great idea.
It
Yeah.
is. I mean, like even like Bobby, hers is Bobby Linkmeyer.
Yeah.
How to write a nonfiction book from planning to promotion in 6 simple steps.
Yep.
And then I'm just looking, like a lot of these are our gateway to dreams.
Yeah.
No sweat public speaking, how to develop, practice, and deliver a knock your socks off presentation with no sweat.
Yeah. You see, it's kind of a formula, and it's, why it is that way, but you can see, I mean,
This is Lethea. Your brand influence, the art and science of building an influential personal brand.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, it gets my wheels flowing. Like
I know. Very exciting.
Okay, so how would I mean, I guess I really have to also focus in before I can come up with that second sentence, like, so where am I going with this? Like really get clear on that for myself.
Right.
So like, I know for me, it's all about sensory focus. So like, that's the title of my book, my podcast, where I want to eventually go, sensory focus. But the subtitle could be that's still in the works.
So do you both have titles, and are you working on your titles, or where are you right now with
Well,
your book?
I
you're just
was
thinking
never
about
going to write a book. I was never going to write a book. But people kept saying, why aren't you taking your Ask Amazing Grace questions and putting it in a book? And I was like, because what would I title it? And there is not a subtitle to it because it's really,
I got it. Can I share?
Yeah. Yeah.
The Wisdom of Grace.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool.
But I haven't gotten to the second part yet. The Wisdom of Grace.
I love it.
An anthology of with an anthology of advice for spiritual seekers.
I love the, oh my gosh, for spiritual seekers is so true. So
Or like 10
Well,
ideas.
I could
that
come up with
change
book
your
titles
life.
all day long, just not for me.
I know the feeling.
I have,
Yeah, and that's why brainstorming is good on this stuff.
I know. I have a whole like I keep my notes on my iPhone. I have a running list of actually I call it topics I know. And I write down book titles just as just for fun. And it has just been a blast to gosh, I haven't opened it in a long time, but yeah, I'm and anyway, some of them are just so funny. Like how, you know, when I get real, sometimes it's really relieving, you know, like it's an emotional release to be able to write down book titles of things that frustrate me or things that I'm so passionate about, but there's a lot of stagnation and I don't know if I'll ever get to it. Like I have a book title called Leadership for the New Era, colon, um, the need for the divine feminine in areas of in to influence our new this new time period we're in or something like that. And then I had another one like how to deal with a um I don't know, like just I'm I'm being silly, but some of them are really hysterical. Like um
But you're onto something, Sheva, with the feminine one, for instance. I think the biggest thing with these subtitles that I would advise is to keep them short and sweet and simple. So when you said, maybe it could be 10 ideas to bring out your inner feminine voice,
mm,
something like that. I mean, I'm just making it up, but 10 ways to reharness your feminine power, something
ooh,
like that. Just something really like bang, it's because if it's way too long, then it's going to
oh,
be like,
right,
okay,
right.
and it's just like, this is just like sending somebody an email or, even a Facebook post. People decide in seconds by what they read. Okay, am I interested in that, or is it way too confusing? Because if we can keep that title and subtitle really short, sweet, and simple, it's going to get people's attention. They're not going to get confused, and they're going to be inspired to read the book. So it's really selling. It's actually your sales pitch for why people should read your book too. That's the way I also looked at it.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's true. Because
Yeah.
I find like I did show my list once to an editor for a book company, and she's like, these don't work.
Mhm.
She happened to be my cousin, but you know, I still was excited
Yeah.
about it. But some of it was just because I was being silly, you know, oh, here it is. A teacher without a classroom, you know, notes are, you know, I haven't done the sub one yet, but like the broken teapot and the big light, how to shine when you feel like you're broken inside. Um,
Right.
Oh, I like that.
um, a home for healing, the connective tissue of lessons on healing from chronic pain. Um, when in uh, at what point are we a grown up? You know, you know, just
Yeah.
I don't know. These are just fun. I just had so much fun keeping this. So whenever I get an idea of like something that someone says that's my superpower and it sounds really catchy, like I'll write it in my I call this list top I don't know if you can see it, topics I know. And then it just is inspiring because then over time I start seeing a pattern, emerge of,
Mhm.
Right.
wait a minute, 5 of these catchy things sound like chapters of a book.
Right, right. Yes, I keep a lot in my cell phone. Every time I come up with something, I write it down in there. So that, because if I put it on paper, I'll lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite book title on here, and this is like not, this isn't kind, but it's Financial Planning Guide for the Idiot Husband. And then
Mhm.
it's really not nice, but it's like how to eventually create.
It could be the financial planning guide for idiots.
Yeah.
You know?
But then how to, but essentially it's like women who think their husbands are idiots with money, but then it's eventually like how to create financial security within oneself, because you ultimately cannot be married in order to achieve security. The myth.
Ah, I see.
Again,
Wow, you do have a lot. You have a lot of different types.
I better stop because I'm getting a little bit too personal, but I know this is recorded.
Well, some of this is recorded. Maybe she can cut it. But what should we do something with this? All the information on the chat. Can we get?
Yes, I'm gonna save the chat, and we can also publish that on the site.
Oh,
And
good.
if either of you want to spend time writing now, we can hold space for that. But if not, that's okay too.
Yeah. Well, I think we might as well just end the recording and
Okay.
then and then discuss anything else that we want to discuss. So how do we?
You may stop recording.
Yeah. Stop recording.
Thank you, Amy,